So yeah, my name is Alexandra Chukas. I am SYNBEE coordinator for DaVinci Labs. Just a little bit of my background. I have 12 years experience in search for non-dilutive funding with a biotech cluster first, then with a research institute situated in Paris, and then with an investment company, but also with startup incubator. And so I have this vision on access to funding from very basic science to something going pretty much closer to the market. So I wanted to share with you today this interesting experience. I'm trying to switch to next slide. Yes, so just a couple of words about DaVinci Labs, which is my employer now. So DaVinci Labs is a leading deep tech incubator in the central Val de Loire region in France, and we exist since 2021. We have raised 37 million euros so far, and we manage 6 European projects. And we sometimes invest in some companies too. So we have so far invested in 3 startups, and we now create an infrastructure which will be based in Central Val de Loire region. And the idea is to create this accelerator with access to scientific labs, but also to startups, so they can all together collaborate, and drive some cool ideas towards the market. And we focus on 3 fields, which are artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and synthetic biology. This is why we coordinate now SYNBEE project, and thank you very much, Sarah, for introducing the project. So dilutive funding, how investors choose. So yeah, the topic of today's session was non-dilutive funding. I was wondering if all of you know what dilutive, non-dilutive means, and did you ever try to raise any money in your life? So please, you can just write something in the chat. You can use like plus, minus to say yes, no, and so on. So we can monitor a little bit your experience with this. So yeah, there is this kind of split between dilutive versus non-dilutive funding. Dilutive funding is basically investments, equity, business angels, all these types of funding are dilutive funding. Why? Because they give you money, but in exchange they receive some part of your business. So you get diluted. You, after such transaction, have lesser part of your business, right? While non-dilutive means that you get money in exchange to producing some whatever impact, results, outcome without being diluted. So this money, you get it without getting diluted. You get it without providing anything in exchange. Somebody else. So yeah, first let's start with the context. SME startups permanently highly need financial resources, and especially at early stages. And several models of entrepreneurial financing are available to startups. It can be different types of grants, loans, subsidized VC, business angels, and so on. And in all this landscape, primary sources are VC and business angels, which constitute 90% of all the available distributed resources, financial resources to startups. So access to VC is very competitive, and one of the key questions always is like how we can maximize chances of startups to raise this venture capital, right? Also, there is this kind of sometimes question, like why would I raise money with venture capital? And here are different reasons, because yes, for sure, it's access to cash. So the first reason is, yes, you receive money, and also positive influence on startup economic performance, because venture capitalists, they have experts who master financial structuring management as nobody else. So they can train you how to do it in a better way, in a most optimal way. So this is not only money, but also this financial expertise. Then also, they are not only experts in funding and finances, they are also experts in tons of other different fields, such as administration, logistics, research and development, validation, market launch, scale up, business development, fundraising, PR, and I can continue for a long time. So depending on who are the venture capital companies you discuss with, you can go into who they are, what's the team expertise, what are their profiles, CV per CV, and you will understand what type of feedback they can provide you and what type of expertise they can share with you. Then one of key aspects is the strategy. They usually put somebody on boards of startups they invest in, and these people contribute to how to strategically drive a company in specific direction. So you might think that this application will be the best for your technology, but they know better markets and they can actually reshape your business and turn it towards some other strategically more important, more interesting field. They also monitor all the time the company growth. So this helps not to deviate from your key track. Also, one key aspect is networking and warm presentations. So venture capitals have multiple contacts from their previous positions, which they share with you to help your business prosper and grow. And they can also do warm presentations to some industry partners because they kind of discuss with them all the time, and this is a win-win situation. So they share these contacts. They are happy to share this. Then they help to recruit a management team. They have this existence of venture capital. So yeah, existence of venture capital in itself has a positive signaling to any other funding institutions afterwards, to private, so other venture capital companies, to industry, but also to public agencies providing access to grants and subsidized stuff like this. So in general, this helps companies to obtain higher survival rate at the end. So the venture capital raising process is split in different steps. And if you know all this, please let me know, and I can just stop here and jump into non-dilutive. Otherwise, I just continue. So first step in this fundraising is just quick screening of your business plan or pitch deck. And usually investors say that they pass less than a minute to decide if yes or no your startup passes to the next step. When you send your pitch deck or business plan, please make sure that you have key problem and market need. You have description of product and solution in a clear way. They want to understand technology behind the product. They want to see also highlights on target market, even if sometimes they know markets even better than you do. They sometimes just want to see how proficient you are in looking at your market and how you kind of grab important things in this market. Then what they want to see also is potential competitors and your competitive advantages. Also, status of project development. So usually it's related to technology readiness level. And also what's important for them is IP, so intellectual property and freedom to operate. Because what they actually buy when they invest in a startup, they usually want to buy IP behind or upcoming IP. Then if you are successful and you pass to the next step, then they jump into more deeper analysis of your company. And so they make you pitch multiple times. You can pitch to a team. You can pitch to some scientific strategic advisory boards, international advisory boards. Some external evaluators can help in this analysis too. They can do due diligence also at some point when you put all the information in some data room, and they screen it one by one with specific specialists, analysts, and so on. And then if you pass to the next step, there will be term sheets, but this is kind of a contract and you will pass with it to yourself later. So there are some factors influences venture capital investment decisions. They vary depending on industry, geographic location, also company stage and size of investment. And what they focus on the founding team and basically education, work experience, achievements, track record, leadership. So you have to put all this in your different CVs, or even it's in the pitch deck. Then under each person, you can add, for example, some logos of where you have been working before, what have you done so far, signed X contracts, raised X millions of money, something like this. So they understand the amplitude of work you have produced so far, and also the technicity and complementarity of the team. So in the team, you have different roles. All these roles are necessary and sufficient to bring the project to success. And if any roles are missing, you need to straight also like this type of profile is missing. We kind of anticipate to recruit this person. For example, we have identified some profile. This is very important to be the most ready possible when you propose this tag to venture capital companies. Second aspect is tangible and intangible support from a parent company, incubator, scientific park, and whether the firm is an academic spin-off. So if by chance you are a spin-off from some university recognized internationally and so on, so please use this information, because this shows how much you are backed by somebody who has already a background and track record. Especially if they have tech transfer offices who can help you down the road. Then also team patenting history is important. And this also shows the company's capacity to protect its products, and freedom to operate is important. And other high technical entry barriers, such as know-how, exclusive knowledge, some unique skills only you master, only you have in your team, and so on. So you have to show how unique you are and how protected you are from competition. Usually they also check target market growth rate, and also they kind of anticipate their potential revenues. And what they want to have is like 10 times return in 10 years, or sometimes it can be even more ambitious, like 10 times return in 5 years and so on. So this is important to show. And also what they want ideally is highly liquid investments, meaning that they prefer to invest in something which is easy to sell in case if they want to exit at some time point. And usually, yes, they have some timeline, like we prefer to exit at this step in like 5-7 years, but they can also have some emergencies and they might want to exit earlier. So if it's liquid investment, it's easier for them to manage and to kind of get profit out of it. Then also what's important is to show that you understand your competition, and also technology innovative and groundbreaking nature, potential technological feasibility based on the preliminary data or any other evidence. And usually they invite some external experts to check on this, or they have some advisory boards, scientific advisory boards, who at some step look through what you propose as a technology, and they look through your preliminary data, and they can actually kill a project just because they don't believe in feasibility of what you propose. So it's important to work with kind of knowledgeable and recognized people from the beginning. So you check these parameters before going to like fifth, sixth discussion, right? Also, regulatory paths and barriers are important, particularly for synthetic biology field, because we know that it's unstable. And today, for some things like health, it might be easier to go into this business because you understand your regulatory path. You know that you will pass by preclinical, clinical, step 1, phase 1, 2, 3, then 4. And this is your timeline until you go to the market. While in some other industries fields, it can be tricky because there is no regulation. It's so lacuna now. Then even regulatory agencies, they just drop it to some other agencies because they say, okay, let's discuss about this whatever file. We do not understand what will happen, so we do not master the risks. We don't want to be responsible for decision in this case, so we prefer not to. Please go to another agency in some other country or some European level and national level. So it can be tricky. So you need to screen this in advance as much as possible. And recently, it becomes more important. So like 8th factor influencing VC decision can be non-dilutive funding. So now we are coming to closer to the non-dilutive funding. So non-dilutive funding, how it can help your strategy towards value growth. Non-dilutive funding means basically, as we discussed, something which doesn't dilute you while gives you some resources, for example, money. Non-dilutive funding usually are grants and subsidies. So maybe it's easier to understand this way in these terms. Benefits of non-dilutive funding are very easy to understand. So let's start with this green part on the left. So first, very huge advantage of the non-dilutive funding is there is no need to pay back, neither to provide equity in exchange. So this is sometimes called free money between us in our field. So this free money also supports your future fundraising because you propose more value at a lower price to investors. Also, if we go on the right side now, it helps you to accelerate your research and development. How? Because sometimes, so you can have mono-beneficiary calls or you can have collaborative calls. If they're collaborative, it means that they push you to collaborate with some other institutions, public, private, and so on, but it helps you to create your network. Even if you didn't plan to do this at the beginning, this network and these cooperations are very helpful for your business in any case. So this kind of non-dilutive funding pushes you to do this, even if it was not priority at the beginning. It helps to network. It helps you to recruit people because you can cover with grants your future, your next positions, like PhDs, postdocs, to work on your technical side. You can cover sometimes with some grants the equipment expenses. It can also sometimes cover other R&D expenses. It also, so yeah, moving to this part, like it pushes your strategic thinking and planning, because usually when you apply to some grant, funding agency proposes you some template with a kind of list of questions or aspects they want to see in your grant. So even if you didn't want to focus on ethics or how many people you will recruit in 5-10 years or some tiny other aspects of your project, you are somehow pushed to consider this and to plan on this and to put it black on white. And this helps you to kind of understand and anticipate and to plan next steps, because this helps you to create this whole picture of what you want to do and what can be helpful in this. So the story looks convincing. Also, when you apply to some grants, agencies can provide you funding and also feedback from experts, evaluators who have looked through your proposal and who have commented like, yes, this is cool, but here you could maybe also connect to this or that market player who leads in this and that type of whatever developments, and this would be beneficial for your project. So even if you're not funded, you will already have this feedback, which is usually very, very valuable, because, okay, you are expert maybe in your field, but the funding agencies, when they launch some calls for proposals, they also recruit experts in different fields to evaluate your proposals, because they do not, administrative people at some regional councils, they do not choose what projects to fund, right? They recruit some external experts to decide on what is groundbreaking, what is feasible, how good or bad this is, how sufficient is it to be a success. So these different experts, they can propose you different cool advices on how to better shape your business. Also, if you obtain non-dilutive funding, this helps you to decrease the risks in general. Because, for example, sometimes you can have some grants. Investors see that, okay, somebody has looked through your proposal. Some experts have already judged that this is good and one of the best because it's a competition, right? So you have won this competition. Probably risks are lower. This helps them to kind of trust also in this evaluation and to invest you and perceive risks as lower. Also, any grant, award, prize, all this puts an excellence seal on your project and gives you some credibility flavor. So when you show a pitch deck and then you show on this pitch deck, like, okay, we have been selected as a Hello Tomorrow, whatever, winner of the Grand Prix and so on, this is already a quality mark, right? So please don't hesitate to maximize application to these types of things because it's good for your credibility, it's good for your PR. It's also easier for future venture capital companies to do the due diligence sometimes, because yeah, they if they see a project from scratch and kind of make it of all this non-dilutive funding and previous evaluations, they need to do it from zero, right? And to watch to search for some weaknesses themselves in details. While if it's funded, if it's granted some maybe European Commission money and so on, they already kind of look at it with less attention to some details because they understand that it has been already analyzed by somebody and approved. This is just a quick landscape of some opportunities existing in Europe of some agencies who have already funded synthetic biology projects at different levels. So you can see they can range from like 100,000 euro to 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. So depending on how big your project is and how much money you need, you can target these or other agencies, and you can kind of search for specific goals based on how much money you need and based on other different parameters, which I will cover later. But also this slide, you can also take a picture because you can go into each of these institutions and already yourself search for what kind of opportunities exist and are proposed to you. But non-dilutive funding should not be taken for granted. First of all, when you apply for some grants, your company should be in a position of financial health, right? It should not be like close to the bankruptcy or you have zero money and tomorrow the company will die, but you still apply to some grants. It's like going to a bank. You have to first prove you don't need money, right? In the grant situation, it's almost same. You have to show like you need this grant to accelerate your development. But without this grant, you are still in a good position, in a good shape, in a good physical, financial shape, right? And you are backed by this and that, and you are actually prospering. But their grant will be a game changer for your company and exponential growth. Also, you need to remember that non-dilutive funding is often partial. So there are some calls, for example, European Commission calls proposing 100% coverage of your costs, even 125% because it's 100% of direct costs covered plus 25% overheads. But the majority of grants of agencies propose parts of money. So maybe sometimes up to 70%, 40% of your project costs will be covered. And for the rest, you have to show your capacity to co-finance these activities, either with equity or with, I don't know, bank loan or the company own money. It's up to you to decide on how you put together this kind of puzzle. Then non-dilutive funding is always a competition. The success rate sometimes can be very low, such as 10-20%. For example, all the European calls are about 10-15%. Some of them lower. For example, EIC accelerator is like 2%. Okay. So sometimes the success rate can be low. So to start, you can target some grants, some calls for proposals with higher success rates. For example, Eurostars call proposes up to 40% success rate. So you can start with this just to develop some background in this grant writing, grant application. Then non-dilutive funding finances R&D project, not a company. So you should understand this. It's not like, okay, we are this company and we just need some operating budget. No, it's because we want a specific project to be developed, and for this project we want this amount of money. So it's different. Then you also need to commit in advance before you get the money. So it's necessary to spend a lot of time. This is a huge team effort to develop a strategy, to have a watch unit to identify open or upcoming grants, calls for proposals. You need somebody to analyze eligibility, to check readiness, company readiness to go for it. You need to obtain necessary data. You need time and resources to actually write the proposals, and sometimes it can be long. Some proposals can be up to 50, 70 pages, and so it takes time and effort. I also wanted to share some tips because I kind of in 12 years experience with academia, industry, startups, different types of institutions writing different types of grants. Kind of I can see good practices and bad practices, right? When it's funded and when it's not. And the mistakes are always the same. So this is the list of key tips how to maximize your chances. So first thing is wow effect. Sarah, you have raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, there's a question from someone who says, co-funding, is it common to find business angels or VCs willing to go in and fund the remaining 25-50%? Or would it be better to look for other solutions such as bank loans?
It can be one or the other. Difference with the bank loan is like you need to reimburse it, right? So I believe that venture capital is better for early stage startups because, okay, you share some part of your company, but until you are on the market, you have zero revenue. So basically, there is a risk in general terms that it will fail overall. And in the VC case, you share these risks with somebody who is expert in your field, and so this venture capital money is better. What is tricky is like it can take some time because we see, okay, you can discuss with them, but they do not give it like the day after. It takes sometimes months before you sign actually with them, and they decide like, yes, we will give you like 200K or 500K and so on. So it can be tricky. Bank loans sometimes can be easier to obtain. What is good is to go to local development agency. I don't know in which country you are. So they can provide you some advice on if yes or no, there are some bank loans for startups in this field, which can be convertible notes or something like this. Like, okay, this is a loan, but in case of failure, you do not need to reimburse the money. This is somehow transferred into whatever other type of asset. So maybe like shares. At the beginning, this is a bank loan, and then it becomes shares. So if the end company fails, you do not need to reimburse it, right? So I believe it's important to discuss with local agencies, like clusters. It can be EEN network, who can advise you a little bit on maybe there are sometimes they have specific programs for startup development in the region. So the region can actually guarantee, so back up somehow specific loans. So do not go to a bank directly to discuss like a physical person. Yes, I plan to start up a company. Can you give me a loan? Uh, this is just advice, not to start by the bank, not to start to discuss with the bank directly. So grant tips. First is wow effect. You have to surprise. For example, if you propose some technology nobody cares about, and there is very low impact, it will be difficult to convince anybody to jump in and to fund it in any way. And if we consider between VC and non-dilutive funding, actually the criteria of attention to some specific points are kind of same, right? So VCs and non-dilutive funding distributing agencies, they all search for some impactful stuff. Like, yeah, market is huge, X million people suffer from whatever, cancer, Parkinson's disease, and so on. So you have to impress them with the size of the market, but also with there is no cure, and we have recently discovered something in a lab, and now we can bring this on the market. We just need your help with it. So this wow effect between huge problem and we have a solution is very nice. Problem amplitude should be always shown, like figures, graphs, statistics, and the solution. You have to be clear about what's the solution, how it functions. To do this, you show preliminary data like tests, prototypes, and so on. You have to show that you have vision on the next steps. So timeline, in how many years potentially, what will be at what step, what are the milestones, what are the key performance indicators, how do you judge if it's a success or not success, and so on. This is not engagement. This is just your provisional plan. So you can be a little bit over ambitious, or you can be realistic. It's okay too. It's just you cannot say that in a year we will finalize phase 1 to 3 of the clinical trial. So you need to be realistic for sure. But sometimes it's important to also understand that this is not a contract yet. This is your provisional plan. So it's okay if it's sometimes underestimating, overestimating something a little bit. You do not need to stress about this, right? You just need to show that you have a vision. And why you have this vision. So what are your resources behind, which kind of convince you that you will do it at this and that step. Then business perspective, so market size, volume, value, competition, customers, time to market, business model, pricing, all this you have to show. Growth factors, links to stakeholders, financial plan, regulatory barriers, and how do you plan to overcome or how do you plan to cope up with this? Because maybe you have already discussions with some specific specialized lawyer team or some whatever agency and so on. EU strategic autonomy is one of key aspects for European goals recently. So Europe decided after coronavirus pandemic, like we do not have quick, easy access to all the different like manufacturing things. And this becomes our possibility to argument like Europe, thanks to this technology, will become a global leader in this or that type of solution. And also this allows Europe to be strategically autonomous for this type of whatever access to resources, access to technology, and so on. So you have to be in this strategic political thinking. Also, you can go to the European Commission website and check strategic documents, because policy documents, because they all the time analyze what is important, what is not. So in your proposal, when you write, even for a local regional agency, you can argument like, as European Commission recently has published this in this policy paper, and you give the reference like this is an important topic. It can be very convincing for local agencies as an argument why to fund your project compared to somebody else. Also, you have to understand international state of the art in the technology and in the business. So who are the competitors? If you have somebody in US going quicker towards the market because they have more funding, for example, and so on, you can argument like, okay, Europe needs to cope up with this competition. We will do this and that. And your money, your agency money will be kind of game changer in this competition, helping us to still keep this first place or to obtain this competitive place, right? Also, you need to always argument the timeliness, technological market acceptance, timeliness. Technological timeliness means somebody was not possible until today. Recently, something has been developed, so now we can advance with our technology thanks to this development. Or market development. So before there was no market, today there is this and that. So we see more companies growing in this field. So we propose to do it, but in a better way with some specific competitive advantages and so on. So we believe it will be, we will take this share of the market and so on. And acceptance is one of key aspects too. Some technologies cannot be accepted by users at some steps. So you need to understand how you help this acceptance. For example, do you plan some communication campaigns? Who would be your partners and other types of stakeholders who will help you to obtain this acceptance? So acceptance meaning understanding from the market, like they really need this, they accept how it functions, and they really want to buy this. Also, you have to show as a team your previous successes in fundraising, for example, like how much funds you have raised so far. Have you managed huge projects or projects of the same size of budget as the one you currently apply for, or maybe comparable size of budget? So when if you never have coordinated anything, and then you go for some European project and you say, I would like to coordinate a consortium of 15 partners, European Commission will raise a flag like, no, it's not possible. This person cannot do this because this person has zero expertise or zero background in doing this. So you need to kind of show how you position yourself in your specific roles and why it's up to you to drive this. So you need to show your current need for money, and you need to show your budget, like how much you need to do what and why, and so on. And you have to show your unique position. You're a pioneer in something. Maybe you have developed some specific methodology. Maybe you master some methodology, and you have exclusive access to, I don't know, facilities, skills, databases, whatever types of cells, and so on. You have IP, you have freedom to operate, and this is why you are the best team to target this project. You have unique profiles, expertise, achievements, and so on. Also, you have to consider key partners. Often, when we are startups, we are afraid of working with others because we kind of consider this confidentiality aspects and so on. We prefer not to because we don't know. Maybe they would like to take our ideas and go with them without us later and so on. So I believe it's important to understand who might be your key players. It's also important to shape in a good way your partnerships, like NDAs, IP protection, and who owns what at the end of specific cooperations, collaborations, and so on. But you need partners, and you need to understand what will be their role in your project, what type of partners you need from the point of view of their competences. Do they provide some resources? So if in your project you need some specific resources, you only can obtain it with this or that other company, please work with them. This is a cooperative world. You also need to show how you are engaged with them. So do you have a contract? Do you have a letter of understanding, letter of commitment, letter of engagement, interest, whatever? You can also explain why they are motivated. For example, if you are a startup and you would like to work with, for example, L'Oreal or Total or whatever industrial company, you can put them as key players, key partners. You might say they will potentially, I will license out my technology to this industrial partner in 2-3 years. So far, we need to develop this and that type of proof of concept, proof of feasibility, proof of whatever, before they actually seriously consider jumping in, investing in the company, for example, or buying or licensing. But in between, they are ready to cooperate with us, and they provide us access to facilities or access to whatever cell line and so on. So you need to shape this type of cooperation, and this is very strong. When you tell public bodies like you're alone, this is one story. When you tell public bodies, I'm a startup, but I play with big players, but I come with big players and they support and they actually trust in what I develop, and they're ready to jump in if this something functions. This is a totally different story, and everybody starts to say like, yeah, maybe we also want to kind of put our money in. You also have to show that you master risks, so you anticipate everything, not necessarily everything, but you need to show like whatever can break your idea, whatever can kill your project. You need to describe like, what's the contingency plan. Like you have maximized whatever chances for success. You have a backup plan. You know this and that facility who will produce you this and that in case if the first partner is out. You need to kind of check different types of risks and plan B. For technology, for market, for ethics, anything else. So you have to be kind of thinking of it as a big picture from different angles, and better to brainstorm it with your team. And one key suggestion for whatever grant you write, be concrete. The more concrete information you give, the more delicious your project looks. And it's when you are not concrete, it reads like, okay, this is a generic whatever project, anybody could write this. But when you provide different types of details, like we will do this with that partner, and you name the partner, we will do this with this type of whatever equipment, and you just showcase this, it becomes colorful and beautiful. This is an exercise that we have done with respect to synthetic biology in Europe. So these are just different examples of grants which have been funded. These grants have the term synthetic biology in their body. And this shows that the world is changing somehow, because before synthetic biology was diluted more or less inside the deep tech, and it was like, okay, let's obtain some funding for synthetic biology. And it was in competition with anything else. And it was, as far as this is long-term development technology, in a competition with some easier, quicker types of things, it was losing often. But today, on the one hand, we see more focus on synthetic biology specifically. On the other hand, we see that policymakers in different countries start to kind of listen to this word as one of keywords, as a buzzword or hot topic today. So it even in the competition inside deep tech calls, synthetic biology is perceived well. Okay, so now is a good time. Now is a good momentum for us to go and search for non-dilutive funding. So with the SYNBEE, on the SYNBEE website, we have started to put together a database of non-dilutive funding. In this database, you can see the funding agency, the name of the call, what this is it a grant, is it a scholarship, is it a subsidy? Sometimes when information is available, there is a funding rate. You can see also budget per project, and sometimes budget for the total call, which is helpful to understand like how many projects will be funded. You have the deadline. So in this example, you see everything on rolling basis. This is just a choice. But yeah, otherwise you have different deadlines. And unfortunately, we cannot update it all the time, but from time to time we update the database. And if you search for specific things, so some calls are bottom up, like in this extract, but often you have specific technologies, for example, calls for health, calls for food, calls for energy. And so depending on what your application, target application is, you can actually kind of filter and see only relevant calls, right? Then you have also details on what potentially is expected. So some description of, some funding agencies provide some details on examples of what we expect are this and that. So this type of information, you can find it inside this description, or sometimes there are some extra eligibility conditions, which is helpful to know too. And geography. So you can filter per country. So I considered some homework for you to do, which will be next step for you to understand how to play with this non-dilutive funding, right? So you need to understand for your project how much money you need. Then you need to understand the budget breakdown. So what you need, this money, is it for personnel? Is it to cover recruitments? Is it to cover equipment, consumables? Is it to cover infrastructure? Is it IP, travel marketing, and so on? What's your key technology? Is it molecular biology, IT, and so on? What's your potential application? Is it health? Is it food? Is it environment? Is it energy, space, defense? Maybe manufacturing, data storage, and so on. Where are you situated geographically? All these different types of information will help you to search for different non-dilutive opportunities. So you can also check other companies working in your space, like competitors, and check their track record. Usually companies are very proud of what they have obtained as non-dilutive funding, so they put on their websites like, we have obtained this and that, and so you can use this information, and you can go to search if same agencies propose more money of this type, and you can actually apply for this. So you can also discuss with local clusters. Clusters are associations of public and private institutions. Usually they are focused on a specific field, for example, biotechnology or IT, or it can be space. There are clusters for food and so on. So you can check locally who are your clusters, and even not only locally, but in a more broader way, you can go on clusters websites, and often they publish open calls which can be of interest in their specific field of operation. You can also check out different grant writing consultants. You can discuss with them. For example, DaVinci Labs and my second employer, who is ZAS Ventures, both are grant writing consultants. You can actually discuss with this type of organizations, and they can guide you through different types of calls, and they can help you, like, okay, this call, you're not so eligible for this one yet because you need to grow first. But when you have TRL 3, 4, 5, and so on, you will be eligible, so come to us later. But now you can go grab money from this and that philanthropic institution, local government, and so on. You can also go to the European Commission and the European Innovation Council website, where you can search for different types of calls. I can show you. So it's here. This is the website. So here's this funding button, calls for proposals. And inside, you can just type here your keywords, and you will see different calls. So now there are more than 400 calls open in different fields. So some of them are in digital space, some of them will be health biology, Marie Skłodowska-Curie, and so on. So actually, this is one of main funding agencies in Europe. With this, I wanted to thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will just stop sharing.
Someone's asking where we can find the database.
The database is on SYNBEE website. Let me try to find it now with you. But I kind of prevent you that database is not necessarily updated now, but at least calls on rolling basis, you can see them now. Wait, I'm not sure it's not going out. Just a moment.
It's okay. And there's another question about the database asking if it's specific to European companies or can companies from North America also apply?
Okay, so this database actually is for European companies, not only companies, but academia too. However, you will see that different calls for proposals are from actually NIH, DARPA, BARDA, for example. Those are actually US institutions, but they propose money globally. And different types of philanthropic institutions propose money globally. For example, there is Michael J. Fox Foundation working on Parkinson's disease, sorry, and they propose money to any R&D projects globally, right? So if you are in US, you can obtain money. If you are not in US, you still can obtain. So it's not geographically speaking attached to something else. So inside this database, you can find something which can be useful for US companies too. But the majority will be not there. So it's here, funding opportunities. So it's insights, funding opportunities, latest insights from SYNBEE. And we open in the databases here. It's an error table, and you can open and see it bigger. So date, and for example, all rolling basis. So all the different calls, they are open all the time, and you can apply anytime. Do you have any other questions, guys? Actually, inside SYNBEE, we have different teams who are being trained. So the idea is to develop a startup, and there is also a parallel activity which is linked to this, which is mentoring. So if you have idea of startup, maybe we can look through it. Maybe we can help you in mentoring, or at least looking through your pitch deck and advising on how to tweak it in some way so it's more convincing if it can be helpful. So don't hesitate to contact us.
There's a question that says, how do we choose at what stage should we go for dilutive funding and when raise non-dilutive funding? If you already have an investor's interest at a very early stage, what factors should one consider before accepting the offer, in contrast to raising non-dilutive funding? Apart from the points you previously covered.
Okay, if you have already investors' interest at early stages, this is good. Actually, about grants, what is tricky is like you apply today, but you will know if you are funded in like 6 months. Sometimes quicker, but usually it takes like a lot of time for them to evaluate the quality and so on. So grants, on the one hand, is a competition, so you never know if you get funded or not. And also, it's loan. So if you have already private investor interested, probably you might be focusing on this because it's not easy to raise private money either. So if you already have this, it will open you some doors quicker after that. This being said, check the investor quality. So this is kind of a marriage. You need to understand that this is for a long term, and you need to understand how they are structured. Do they have necessary expertise to help you? So it's not only money, but also a good suggestion down the road and somebody with good portfolio of contacts to put you in contact with necessary people in the industry and next investors. So you need to kind of qualify them on your side too. And ideally, you might want to see different investors. So it's not investors choosing between different startups, but you choose between different investors. Also, some kind of internationally renowned PIs, principal investigators, they do not, how to call it, they have so much choice. So all the funding, all the VCs, all the funding agencies, everybody wants to invest in them. And they are just choosing like, okay, I would like to go with this or that person. And they reject others. This is kind of a holy grail. Probably this is the best situation because when you can choose, you can also push conditions. So even you have already this investor, you just, by finding somebody else as a comparison, as a choice, you can say like, okay, if you don't give me this type of conditions, better conditions, more preferable conditions, I can deal with this other venture capital, right? So you can, to improve your possibility, your capacity to negotiate better terms, you might want to take some time to identify different investors. But between non-dilutive and dilutive, probably there is usually some urgency about raising money. So if you have already this money available, I would choose probably private money. This being said, non-dilutive is a free money. So if you prefer to stay in a full control of your company, if you don't trust potential investors because you don't know them enough, maybe non-dilutive is a more secured version, but it's a personal decision. So I can only give you some pros and cons, but it's up to you to decide based on your exact situation. And also chances for obtaining non-dilutive funding are low. So you need to understand, like, if in 6 months you don't have this grant, can you still keep these venture capitalists kind of warm enough to still get them on board if you don't obtain the grant?